How you doing, Mike? How's everybody? Well, it all depends where you're at. Still a couple minutes before noon in San Francisco, if you'd like to call it morning. Who'd like to start off?
Mike, I can't help but think back to last year when the message at the bye about still a long way to go, still being in and so forth. I'm just wondering what your message is going to be to the team this year at the bye as you go into it 1-3, but only a game out of first.
Same message we've had, throughout the year. You're trying to get better each week, each practice. So we try to do better this week. We talked about taking away the run or trying to take away the run, and you go to giving up 3.4 yards per rushing attempt. You feel like you've improved. You try to put a team in a one-dimensional game, and we're able to get some sacks and turnovers, and that's how you win football games.
Like, obviously, this team knows it can turn a season around based on what it did last season, and a lot of players have talked about sort of, going back to that and thinking about it. But is there something that you have to get the players to guard against also, that it doesn't just happen on its own, that you have to – last year you did things to make it happen and you have to do that again?
Yeah, I think what you do is you go back and you're tough on yourself, especially when you win, when you look at the film. You talk about the things you could have done to put the game away much earlier, or what it takes to have, a great day on both sides of the football. And that's what you're constantly trying to do, is look at the things you did poorly, trying to improve on those. Always feel good when you win. That's the objective. But our football team is pretty realistic. They know what type of effort we have to get to the next level, what type of play we have to do consistently to win a division.
Mike, I know your players and maybe even you will say every win is big. I hope you can expand on that here. When you were looking 0-4 in the face, down 0-14, to be able to come back like you did, can you put your finger on 24 hours later how big yesterday's win really was?
Well, first-hand experience. I was with the Broncos when the Chargers started out 0-4, and they were in the playoffs. So I've seen things happen throughout the National Football League that, hey, you just got to focus on the job at hand. And once you get too carried away, to me, that's when a team goes one way or the other. You have to know what gives you a chance to win, and that's doing the little things the right way. And sometimes if you don't do all the little things the right way, you lose a game, and all of a sudden the sky's falling. And the sky's not falling. You got to go back and do the little things the right way. And if you got that mindset and your players believe in the work, then you got a chance to overcome anything. And even though we won the football game, we know we didn't play one of our better games, especially offensively. And when that happens, then you got a football team that has a chance to get better.
Mike, there were still some struggles on third downs, particularly early on. What did you all do to correct that? And then what's it going to take, do you think, just to get that clicking?
It was very easy. You take a look at what you did poorly in that third round. Was it a drop ball? Was it a missed assignment? Was it a missed pickup on the blitz? Was one person got overpowered? All those type of things. It takes 11 guys collectively to have the type of game we just talked about. And if you don't, you go back and you're tough on yourself and you say, hey, we got to do this as a team.
Mike, how would you evaluate special teams overall for you guys? I mean, obviously the block punt was an obvious mistake yesterday, but overall the last couple weeks.
We got to get better. We've got a lot of people playing different positions that they haven't played there before, some young guys. At the one position we had the block punt. We had a new left wing there a couple weeks in a row. Not that was the misassignment, but collectively we got to get better working as a group. We do have some guys that haven't a lot of experience, but we're getting some great effort. We got to improve on our technique. But I like the effort that we do have. We just got to clean things up a little bit, and we got to improve. There's no question about it.
Mike, you guys had the success with the hurry-up offense there in the end of the first quarter. What is the process of deciding when that is the best time to use that? And players said that they knew you guys were going to use it, but how do you go about deciding when the best time to use it is, and also against who?
Well, it's always good when you use something that nobody's ever seen before. So you do catch people off balance a little bit. I think that's what we did. We caught them a little off balance. The pace was a little bit different, and I think it's a good change-up. I like what we did, both in the running game. They weren't used to some of our play-action passes off of it. I think we got them a little bit by surprise, and I think it got the momentum going in our direction. And sometimes you have to come up with different packages like that and use it when you think you need to. And at that time, I thought we needed it.
Mike, on the fake punt that they executed, how difficult is it to prepare for that, considering where they were on the field, I think, inside their 30? And did you consider calling a timeout, or anybody on your staff consider calling a timeout before they ran that?
Well, you work on those things, throughout the week. You don't know exactly what direction they're going to go, but they've been known for fakes, so we've worked on more fakes this week than we probably normally do. Then you take a look at why something happened. Number one, number 22 is pretty fast. We had angles on him, at least from the inside going out, but we didn't have containment. We got a guy looking inside on the quarterback sneak, and he's got force. But anyway, team speed was able to overcome that, and they got a big play on us, and you got to give them credit for calling it and having the guts to call it, backed up in that position. Thought it was a good play, and they took advantage of it. Now, as we all know, the big question mark, if we would have had the force and the containment, we would have had great field position. So we'll continually work on that and try to make a big play when we can.
Mike, from a coaching perspective, what will you and your staff use this bye week to try to accomplish in terms of self-evaluation or anything else? And from that perspective, is it any better or worse to have the bye this early?
Well, I don't even think about that, because when you got your bye, it's your bye. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the season, toward the end of the season, or in the beginning. You can use excuses that it's a perfect time for any bye week. At the end of the day, we got a chance to heal up a little bit. We got a couple guys banged up, which is a positive for us to get these guys healthy. When you take a look at 4 preseason games and 4 regular season games, and at least the last couple weeks hopefully going in the right direction, we can come back healthy, and we know where we're at in the NFC East, and starts the season all over again.
Mike, you mentioned it yesterday after the win when you saw that the rest of the division all lost. Are you surprised at the state of the NFC East right now with the Giants, say, winless? I know you haven't played them yet, and you got the Cowboys coming up, and they blew another big lead yesterday. Are you surprised?
Remember, this is a long season. Don't get carried away with things, that happen very early or very late. Just stay the course. Understand your objective and your goals, and try to get better each day. But, a lot of those games can go either way, and people get healthy or they get injured, and there's a lot that goes into it.
You talk about guys taking advantage of opportunity all the time. Roy Halou came in yesterday. I know he's played a lot of snaps this year, but he really hasn't had a big role in the offense. He came in after Alfred got hurt, made a couple of big plays for you. You think you might try to get him involved a little bit more?
Well, Alfred, I think, got hurt early, and you could see he was sore. Even in that first quarter, he wasn't running normal. That different things that I've seen him do, throughout the course of time since he's been here. You could see that on film that he wasn't 100%. So when Roy did get his opportunities, I shared with you yesterday, I was really pleased with him because he was ready both in the running game and the passing game. You could see his speed, his strength, and took advantage of a couple opportunities to get some big plays.
How do you guys go with the no huddle there in that situation? You've got a pretty loud crowd. How would you evaluate the way Griffin communicated the plays to everybody? I mean, obviously you guys were moving the ball, so it worked out. But did you think you did a pretty good job making sure everybody knew what was going on?
I did a great job. Great job. We've been practicing that all the way through camp. I know go back to Richmond. We've practiced it from day one. He's done a great job with it. It is hard in that type of environment if you are changing plays. And when he did change plays, we communicated it successfully. But more importantly, I think that when you catch somebody by surprise, that you got a chance to gain a little momentum, and that's what we did.
Brandon Merriweather obviously gives you guys a lot. Just can you talk about his versatility? He plays strong safety, play free safety, and what that enables you all to do?
Well, most people that have safeties, you got to interchange. People, what they do with motions with tight ends, wide receivers, if you don't interchange, you can really keep a defense pretty much off balance. So those safeties aren't really sure where they line up. But the one thing about Brandon, if he's deep or he's in a box, he can tackle. He's going to make some plays. I think he's getting in better football shape. You can see each game he's playing better, and he's getting healthier. And you need reps to be good no matter what, and those reps are helping him.
Mike, do you have any specific update yet on Logan Paulson with the knee?
I don't. I haven't talked to Larry yet. I'm sure as soon as they know something, they're going to share that with me, but I have not talked to him yet.
Also, I know you guys struggled offensively on the third down, and you mentioned collectively, but when you hit on that touchdown drive, the 2 3rd and 3 conversions, one on the touchdown and one on Hank to keep the drive going before. How do you kind of process the struggles overall, but yet two of your big plays that set up a touchdown? How do you kind of sort that out in your mind that you had some success in key spots there?
Well, I think you answered your own question. I mean, that's what you're trying to do, is execute like we did in those situations, and you're trying to do it every play. When you do execute like that, that means all 11 people are on the same page. When you don't, usually they're much better than you are, or you haven't executed properly with your game plan.
Michael, just going to ask more on the injuries. Did you hear anything more about Alfred today, and are any of the injuries from yesterday ones that you're concerned about maybe take more than the bye week to heal?
I really don't know, since I haven't really talked with Larry yet. I haven't really been updated, but I think they would have shared that with me yesterday if they thought it was very serious. I don't think you know about Logan until you actually have an MRI, but Logan felt pretty good yesterday. So, but sometimes that doesn't mean anything. Guys can feel good, and all of a sudden it's not very positive. So we'll keep our fingers crossed there.
Mike, on the sacks, a lot of those guys got to Flynn pretty quickly, but how much was that also set up and helped by the coverage in the back end there?
Well, it's a combination of both. I mean, anytime you get sacks, you got to have good coverage, and you got to get interceptions, you got to have some pressure on the quarterback. I think we've talked about it. I mentioned it a second ago. It's if you can put a team more in a one-dimensional game, a team that's counting on the run, like the Raiders have done. If you can get them more in a one-dimensional game and have them throwing the ball, and we can kind of put our ears back a little bit, get after the quarterback, it gives us an advantage.
Did you see anything different in Brian yesterday or Rakpo, or was it just a matter of getting better opportunities, more opportunities to do what he does?
Well, as I mentioned again, 3.4 yards per rushing attempt. All of a sudden they feel like they have to throw the ball a little bit more, and Rack gets more opportunities to get after the quarterback.
Everybody talks about the rust that Robert has coming off the injury because of the knee and all that. Did you look at Brian as having to shake off any of that rust, or as he look like the guy you had hoped he would?
Well, I think any time that you come back after an injury, that confidence builds as you get more repetition. And I think that's for Rack, that's for Robert, anybody that's been injured, especially for any length of time.
Mike, your defense is taking a lot of hits, and people have talked about
which one?
Your defense has taken a lot of hits, and people have talked about the yardage that they've given up, but they've also been able to turn some plays into points. Do you get the sense that this is a group that, because of their youth and athleticism, can continue to do that and do it even more? I mean, taking pick sixes, doing what Kerrigan's done in the first couple of games, not just snagging balls out of the air, but taking them back to the house, things like that?
Yeah, I do. But I think you go back to each game, and I don't mean to really belabor a point. When you take a look at the first game against Philly, they really kind of keep you off balance. And that running game is going. And the yardage they had. And then you take a, you take a look as the games go on, and you're saying, okay, what did Green Bay do? They kind of got us on our heels a little bit. They ran the football. So that's what I think has been the difference in the last couple of games on defense, even though Detroit wasn't perfect. We made some strides this game, more strides. But even when we put a team in a one-dimensional game, they still can execute, so you got to get after the quarterback. So hopefully we can keep on doing that.
Mike, the intentional grounding from Robert, that's been an occasional thing that has happened over the last year plus. How do you kind of work with him to get better in that area, and what does he need to be aware of, I guess, most specifically?
Well, we go over the things with Robert. If you do get put in a situation like that, and someone might miss an assignment, they may have an all-out blitz. Which side do you throw it to? Do you throw it to the side with no wide receivers or the side with 3 wide receivers? And all of a sudden, as time goes on, the process slows down a little bit, and with repetition, you get better.
How would you gauge Hankerson's just development and maturity as he's gone along?
Good. Hank is really playing well. When he gets the opportunity to set guys up one-on-one, he usually wins. He's one of the guys that has size, has strength, and is becoming more comfortable, not only with the system, but with himself. It's nice to have a guy that's healthy all the way through the summer, through the off-season training camp, and he's been able to do that. And so, therefore, you can see the progress that he's made.
Mike, I know Brian asked early on about special teams, but Chris Thompson now 4 games back there. Where does he stand as a punt returner? What are some of the things you like? What are some of the things you think he needs to get better at?
Well, the one thing that the average fan would look at saying, oh, my God, that ball hit the ground too many times. But if you watch it in practice, he was booming them. and the wind was very strong. So we had him back there about 47 yards. As the game started, he drove them, and most of them were short and a little bit different than in practice. And we always tell our punt returner, hey, if it's windy and that ball is kicked in an area that we're not comfortable with, let it go. And really didn't cost us any yards that he didn't. But the thing that I don't want to do is a guy to just lay out, make sure he catches it, and then all of a sudden he bobbles it and it's a turnover. That usually costs you the game. So I was pleased with his decisions. For a young guy coming in that type of environment, I wasn't disappointed because I know how windy it was down there, and some of the decisions he made, I like the decisions he made.
There were some more missed tackles yesterday, but not just with your team, but around the league as a whole. With the rule changes and what you guys can do and what you can't do in the offseason, do you think tackling's a lost art, even in the time that you've been a head coach? Have you seen it depreciate?
Well, when you can only have pads on one day a week, you're not going to be great at tackling, but you want to get better as the season goes on. I agree, we didn't still miss some tackles in that game. I like the effort with the amount of guys we had getting to the football. So if somebody does miss a tackle, there's other guys there to make the tackle. But if you can average 3.5 yards per rushing attempt, good things are going to work out for you. Okay? Thanks.